sure by now you've heard about the announcement about Ted Cruz running for president in 2016. With this video here, we're going to break down why you not only shouldn't vote for Ted Cruz, but not even the other candidates alone by themselves. We're going to pick those candidates apart one after the other once they start running. But with this video, we're going to simply break down why you should even vote for this particular politician named Ted Cruz. Now, not only we're going to start by looking at his important issues that really should be on the forefront with elections and picking candidates or politicians in general, that we should be looking at the real issues, not just the issues about social issues or anything like that, which they are important again, but also we have to look at the real bare bones and break down why he has these particular viewpoints or particular on issues that are really important. Because when you really boil down to it about the two-party dictatorship that we all are under with this so-called choice in elections that we have throughout each presidential cycle, we seem to have Clinton, Bush, Clinton, and different choices like that, even a Bush, which potentially may be another one this election cycle. But we're going to focus on Ted Cruz now. And first we're going to start off with people assuming that he is so on economics, etc., and he's on the right side, or he's a particular candidate that people could look up to. Now, he's saying all the right things when he's mentioning abolishing the IRS, abolishing the Federal Reserve, scaling back the government, things like that. But when you look past the rhetoric, which in all cases they're completely lying, they're all liars, just lying and saying the right things, pandering as it's called, for people to choose their candidates and to believe in them. I think we've seen that before with a particular Democratic candidate, the last presidential election. That person, Obama, was the hope and change, and I'm going to scale back the government. I'm going to scale back the crackdown on whistleblowers, which of course is a lie. That was just a political promise. But with Ted Cruz, where his wife used to work for Goldman Sachs, again, she recently quit her job to be on Ted Cruz's campaign, of course, to support him. But then when you really look at it, she is on part of the list with Goldman Sachs, again, which Goldman Sachs has donated to both political candidates millions of dollars to both sides of the spectrum. Now, why do you seem to be asking that question about Goldman Sachs funding both sides? Because, of course, they want to benefit from both sides. They invest in both sides because they win no matter what. And we, as American voters and also just people in general, end up losing in these particular elections. But with Ted Cruz, starts with his wife works for Goldman Sachs. Used to work for Goldman Sachs, but again, she still worked for Goldman Sachs. And was also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, which most people know about is a secret group. Not really secret. Their members list is very public on their website, cfr.org. But their agenda is mainly not in the interest of the American people, not only in that front, but also the interest of humanity in general, where they're behind certain policy papers that dictate policy instead of actual voters voting for these policies. They go through no matter what, particularly on issues as foreign policy, economics, etc. The list goes on. Okay, so we started with Goldman Sachs and CFR membership, his wife, Goldman Sachs and CFR membership. Now I'll go to Ted Cruz, where he continues to perpetuate the idea that we need to fight ISIS and continue this war on perpetual warfare on terrorism that most candidates seem to agree with, no matter if you're on the side of the Democrats or Republicans. Again, it doesn't matter which side is voted in. You're still going to get the same results no matter what. It's the old saying, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And this is the perfect example of why people shouldn't vote for Ted Cruz. Now, we're going to continue on this, and I definitely encourage people to share this video for especially people that support Ted Cruz and support his ideas, because you are being lied to, not only lied to, but pandered into believing these types of ideas. Now, people seem to get the idea that when Democrats are in office, we're going to vote Republicans, and Republicans are going to go in there and fix everything, which of course never ends up happening because we get the same exact policies, if not worse, than the previous administration. Now, continuing with Ted Cruz, of course he supports all the conditions of the war on terror, etc., fighting ISIS, funding rebels in Syria, Ukraine, all of these different examples, because we need to fund them. Otherwise, then the Russians will come in and take over that territory, which is their justification, saying we have to fund those groups before outside groups come in and intervene because freedom. That's their guise under the guise of freedom, which has been the most absolute ridiculous idea because it isn't about that. Most people do know about that. But again, for those of you who don't know, you should definitely check out the links in this description below that will be about Ted Cruz and his past. Not only working for the Bush administration, and that's how he met his wife during the Bush campaign back in the 2000s, but just the idea that saying Ted Cruz is somehow different or he's a refreshing candidate compared to the other ones. He's not. He's the same exact person, just dressed up a little better, dressed up with better rhetoric. The message for people who still are somehow think voting for Republicans will change something or not, or Democrats will nothing. Don't fall for the same tricks that people fell for President Obama. Because most people, even Republicans included, laugh at Obama supporters for voting for Obama. But of course they vote and kowtow to Ted Cruz, and they act the exact same way. There's really no difference between either party. It's a complete two-party dictatorship, an illusion of choice. And an example is with Ted Cruz. And again, many other candidates will come out, I'm sure, soon about these particular issues. But Ted Cruz is particularly involved with this aspect of pandering, because it is complete pandering. It's a hoodwink of the voters who believe that Ted Cruz will somehow be different and will fix everything. No, he continues to have the same backers as Obama, Goldman Sachs. Again, just as a review, he's the same backer for Goldman Sachs. His wife used to work for Goldman Sachs and is a CFR member, still continually as a CFR member, that as far as I know she still is. Ted Cruz still supports the same policies of war on terror, perpetual war overseas, funding rebels in Ukraine and Syria and everywhere else, basically to get rid of terrorism. And he votes for the same exact policies that everyone else tends to vote for, where people assume that there's such gridlock and there's such partisanship. No, there really isn't on the real issues. On the real issues, everyone votes in lockstep, no matter which side you're on. So again, I definitely encourage people to check out the links in the video in the description below about Ted Cruz and why he is the same person as the other candidates. It's the same beliefs, just dressed up in a different package. And the last message I could leave, at least, don't get fooled by the same candidates again. Because it looks like it's heading towards that direction where people will fall for the same exact policies just from a different letter next to the person's name. So again, definitely check out all the links in the description below about these topics and much more. And also check out our other videos in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Thanks everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon.